The Wall Street Old Boys Club calls her the biggest bitch in America. Michael McLean, brassballsvideos.com. I am an ex-professional hockey coach, ex-amateur championship hockey coach turned 8-figure entrepreneur. You can download a free copy of my brand new book, 5 Ways to Unfuck Your Life in the Next 30 Days. The link is below, brassballsvideos.com. It's a simple free PDF about 22 pages. You can read it in 15 or 20 minutes. My complimentary free gift to you. Just a word of warning about my new book. My new book is not every entrepreneur's cup of whiskey. I wrote this book 3 months ago for winners, not for whiners, for champions, not for chumps. If that's your cup of Jack Daniels, that's your decision to make. brassballsvideos.com below. So they call her the Wall Street White Collar Old Boys Club. They call her the biggest billionaire bitch in America. And the badass lioness, I like the word lioness better, the badass top 1% of 1% of 1% billionaire lioness that I'm referring to is none other than the great Martha Stewart. 83-year young billionaire entrepreneur from scratch. Martha Stewart, badass billionaire. My wife Krista and I did something on Sunday we rarely do. We had a couple of hours when our 11-year-old daughter was away at theater practice. She's getting ready for her production this weekend, 4 straight nights. Opening night is Thursday. And my wife and I sat down. I said, would you be interested in watching the brand new Martha Stewart documentary? It's on Netflix. It's called Martha. Admittedly, I don't watch a lot of documentaries. I don't watch any TV. I watch almost no pro sports, but I do enjoy watching a rare documentary, not some of these weird documentaries now that are platforms for social justice warriors, or, it's information that's fantasy sold as reality. But I have to give this documentary a 7.5 out of 10. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. You can decide whether it's worth your time, but I give it a good rating. I thought it was well done. I learned a lot about Martha Stewart. I've read a biography on her. I've read a book on her when she did 5 months in prison for insider trading. I've always been fascinated with self-made millionaires and billionaires and super high performance people like Martha Stewart. One of the things that has always attracted me to Martha Stewart as an entrepreneur is she became a billionaire entrepreneur in a man's world, basically a man's business world. Like she literally came from almost nothing. She was one of 6 children. Her father, whenever you have these high performance people where they're perfectionists, right? In the documentary, she talks about how she's a perfectionist. Not just excellence, but the need for perfection in her life, which you can never attain. But it always comes back to the family. It always comes back to dad, or it comes back to mom. And in Martha Stewart's situation, in her history, it was her dad's drive for perfection. Nothing was ever good enough. And, he wasn't personally a successful person, but he taught her how to garden. He taught her how to fix things, how to build things. He taught her how to work, and he demanded perfectionism. And she talks about his influence on her life. Just the same as Nick Saban talked about his father's influence on him, polishing and washing black cars at his dad's service station, and his dad saying, do it over, and then do it over, There's a smear, do it over. There's a smudge, do it over. That never is good enough drive that their parents have put in them. Whether it's a curse or a blessing, you'll have to decide. But it was her father's insatiable desire for perfection. Plus, he gave her the tools like to garden, to fix things, to rebuild things. So, and that's what she ended up, that was her mission in life with Martha Stewart Living. But she literally, she came through college and then she got married, and admittedly, worst mother ever. Martha Stewart, like a lot of billionaires, is incapable of showing love or affection. And this is the saddest part of the documentary, is when she admits that she was a lousy mother. A lousy mother. Like, she couldn't wait till her daughter was taking naps or until her daughter grew up, because all Martha wanted to do was work on her business. So she's very self-aware, like all peak performers. And she goes, I was a lousy wife, twice divorced. And she goes, I was a lousy mom. But ironically, it appears that her and her daughter are extremely close. They work together. She's all through the documentary. So interesting how that has worked out. But lots of carnage, lots of sacrifice, and she doesn't try to duck any of it. Lousy wife, lousy. She sleeps 4 hours a night, that's it. And just absolute badass taskmaker. Like, she is as ruthless as any founder or CEO or entrepreneur in America. I've read lots of articles on Martha Stewart about the way she and what she demands from her employees. And of course, like any great coach, it doesn't matter if they played for, a great football coach or a great hockey coach or a great basketball coach. If you're a taskmaster, you're a championship level coach, there's going to be ex-employees and ex-players that come back and whine and complain about how you were a tyrant, how you demanded too much, how nothing was good enough. So Martha has a whole bunch of people that have come out about her saying, that it was mental abuse, it was verbal abuse. And once again, it's just watching her be interviewed on this documentary, you can see the fire in her eyes. Like I tell my mastermind members, passion isn't good enough. People go, oh, well, writing is my passion. Marketing is my passion. Working with animals is my passion. Teaching is my passion. And I'm like, you'll never be any fucking good. You'll never be any good if it's just passion. You've got to be absolutely obsessed. There is a massive difference between passion, which all the normies, all the civilians, I have a passion for the outdoors. I have a passion for helping people. You know what? Totally forgettable. And passion will not get you through the tough times. Now, if you're obsessed and you're a man on a mission, now we're talking. We're talking like I like to say, a man without a mission is a man without testicles. Now, Martha Stewart, in a dominated male environment, she literally is a lioness on a mission. She's not passionate. She's not curious. She's absolutely fucking obsessed with winning. And winning to her is a daily occurrence. Everything has to be perfect. And then when it's not perfect in her world, look out. And I love, I've been coached, fortunately, by some of the most balls to the wall, candid teachers. In other words, truth tellers. You don't run into a lot of teachers, a lot of consultants, a lot of CEOs, no politicians. You don't run into people anymore that speak the truth. They're all people pleasers. They're all soft as shit. And you can't help people if you don't tell them the truth. But in Martha Stewart's situation, when you work for her, whether you're an employee, whether you're a vendor, whether you're a shareholder, you know where you stand. And just seeing some of the clips here, she's a teacher. She wants things. Like, she doesn't ask one thing of another person that she's not willing to do herself. That's the part of the story that these cupcakes that whine and complain, that work for her, they leave that part of the story. Martha Stewart doesn't do one thing, okay? There's not one thing she does or she asks of her employees that she's not willing to do herself. In fact, I mean, she laps them every day. But this documentary was so powerful in terms of how she just absolutely is a woman on a mission. At age 83, she's in fantastic shape. She's still on her mission. And they tried to get her, right? So it's the American dream. People love to cheer. Same thing in Canada. They love the hero story. They love the underdog story. But then all of a sudden, after years and years and years of climbing and success, people get sick of you. People got sick of Michael Jordan. People get sick of Steve Jobs. People got sick of Henry Ford. People get sick. They get sick of listening to the success. And that's the Canadian and American way, is they cheer on the underdog. They cheer on the road to the top. And then they want to boo so badly. And in her case, admittedly, she made a really dumb mistake. A $40,000 insider trading mistake that literally cost her empire. And she has nobody to blame but herself. But damn it, talk about a bitch hunt. Talk about a Wall Street bitch hunt. It was very similar to what happened to Trump with the New York attorney, somebody trying to make a name for themselves. As Alan Dershowitz said, the most ridiculous charges in 60 years of law. That's what Dershowitz said when it came to the Trump charges and conviction. Well, Martha Stewart was same deal. Like, they went after her, they made sure they got her, they made sure they put her in her place, they made sure they tore her down, and it was a young district attorney in New York who wanted to make a name for himself. But what I love about Martha Stewart is she didn't whine, she didn't complain, she did her fucking time. And it was 5 months in a correctional institution. It wasn't as easy as she thought it was going to be. And she literally turned that loss, that trauma, that disaster into a trophy. Traumas into trophies. Everybody has traumas, different levels of traumas. People like Martha Stewart, they find a way to embrace their trauma, their loss, their disappointment, the chips on their shoulders, and it's fuel. They use it as fuel to get to the next level. So jail was a trauma into a trophy. And she literally, the first few days she was incarcerated, she was finding her way. There was women in there that wanted to harm her. It was far from club fed. But as all champions, as all lions and lionesses, she thrived in prison. She literally found a way to serve other people. And in her case, after she got, acquainted with the prison lifestyle, she turned her attention, her mission, her obsession became helping these women in the prison. And there were women in there that were there for 10 years, 12 years, and they had come from the toughest environments, the most abusive backgrounds. They have no self-worth, no self-esteem. And she turned it into a positive. She turned her trauma into a trophy by serving other people. And instead of being bitter and keeping to herself and just doing her time, which most celebrities would have done, she literally went to work. sharing her skill set, how to garden, how to create things, how to make clothes. She literally shared her skills with these women that had no skills. And she helped build their self-esteem, their self-image, their self-worth. And boy, oh boy, when it was time for her to leave after 5 months, I mean, these women in there, she had helped transform some of their lives. But she thrived in that environment. And she did it by serving other people. And nobody's ever going to give her any credit for that. But man, oh man, like, talk about build a media company with television shows, with magazines. Like, she did it all. And then when she came out of jail, of course, nobody wants to touch her, right? Nobody wants to touch her. But that's the thing about the American dream. Now that they've tore you down, now that they've put you in your place, now that you served your time, now it's time for the comeback. And boy, did she come back. She, nobody touched her for 2 years. They didn't want nobody wanted to return her phone calls. Her $1 billion stock was in the toilet. But Martha is a lioness. She is one badass winner, champion, and she's not going to accept losing. So over the last 20 years since being released from that 5-month stint, she has reinvented herself. She has reinvented herself. You guys there are like, oh, I'm 60, I'm too old. Or, oh, I'm 70, I'm too old. Or, oh, I'm 80, too old. That's fucking loser talk. She was in her late 60s, her early 70s, and she started kicking ass and taking names. And she wears that when she, Wall Street Old Boys Club call her the biggest bitch in America. That is like, she wears that like a medal. She's like, that is a badge of honor for somebody like her, a lioness like her. She's like, bring it on. She was in all those boardrooms. She was, on Wall Street. She was in the media. She was on television. All of those male-oriented and dominated industries. And she literally willed herself to the top. She took those guys behind the woodshed. There was nobody that could compete with her. So she's such a powerful force, female force in entrepreneurship, that this is one of the rare documentaries that my wife and I are going to watch with our 11-year-old daughter. My 11-year-old daughter is an entrepreneur. She raises thousands of dollars for animal rescue, for cancer research, and she also has a dog walking company in Naples. And she likes business. She has her own podcast. She's just getting her feet wet. I want her to see this documentary, and I want to plant that seed in her head of what's possible. The American dream, the Canadian dream, where you literally, if you have the obsession and you have the work ethic and you have the focus and you have the alligator skin, there's nothing that's beyond your reach. You're going to take the hits. You're going to take the losses. You're going to take the embarrassments. It's going to be the hardest thing you ever do. But if you're obsessed, if you go on an absolute mission, whether you're a man or a woman, if you go on an absolute mission and it's all you can talk about, it's something that, gets you up early and keeps you up late. If it's your calling, if it's your purpose, then you got a chance to make it happen. But I want her to see as many examples of lionesses like Martha Stewart, and what to do when you're at the top and the next day you're at the bottom. Like the great Philadelphia Flyers 2-time Stanley Cup champion head coach Fred Shero said to his players all the time, in life, in sports, and in business, one day you're going to be drinking the wine, the next day you're going to be picking the grapes. You've got to get used to winning and to losing and keeping one step in front of the other, violently consistent day after day. So this is one of the rare TV shows or documentaries that passes my test, and I'm going to be watching it in the upcoming weeks with my daughter, Emery. The biggest badass billionaire bitch in America, and man, Martha Stewart could not be prouder of those guys that she wiped the floor with, calling her that behind her back. The ultimate America rags to riches success story. You can download a free copy of my book below at the link brassballsvideos.com. Print it off, study it, let me know what you think. Remember what my 91-year young dad says, the best is yet to come. And remember what Jim Harbaugh says to his team every week that they win, who has it better than us? Nobody. In Canada, who has it better than us? Nobody. Who has it in America better than us? Nobody. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that can change yours. Be relentless.